Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the Ianterviews, video podcast where we hear from the people in the arts and entertainment fields that inspire us to create something of our own. My name is Ian McDonough, and I'm a voice actor and amateur artist working to be successful in this field, but most importantly, your host. Also with me here is my very first guest. Would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us what you do?
Hi, everybody. My name is Whitney Rodgers. If you recognize my name, you might recognize it from voice acting at Funimation, where I do voices for anime characters. And what you probably don't really hear is a couple of the commercials that are online or for certain products. But yeah, I'm a voice actor and I'm a freelance model and I have a day job just like everybody else. So, I'm just your average person, just a little bit more, I don't know, a lot more talking to yourself alone in a booth than the average person.
Awesome. Whitney, thank you so much for being my very first guest on my podcast.
Having me.
For those of you who don't know, Whitney has voiced many characters in anime, like Yozora in Haganai, Lotta Hart in the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney anime series, Artemis in Maria the Virgin Witch, Yuri Alpha in Overlord, and last, but certainly not least, Mako Shiraki in Prison School. She also and she also has done, as she stated before, a lot of freelance modeling in art, fashion, and advertising in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's get to the reason why you're here. To let us know about your experiences in the fields and arts of voiceover and modeling. You ready?
Cool. I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay, my first question is, what made you get into voice acting?
I was already an actor. I was already working, well, when I got into voice acting, I was 21, I think, because it was 2011. I
Yeah.
was at college at Tyler Junior College in East Texas, and I was doing musical theater, and I knew that acting was what I wanted to do. But my best friend and roommate at the time got me into watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I was like, "Wow, this show's so cool." She says something along the lines of like, "Wow, well, you need to check out all this other stuff." But I knew of anime. I was interested in anime, but I didn't really know what it was because I had no cable or satellite where I was growing up. So if I did see it, it was like a clip, like 5 minutes of Inuyasha at like a vacation hotel when my parents were like going to get ice, and then I'd be like, "Oh, it's Adult Swim. I can't watch this. It's so bad." So I got into it because my best friend in high school, but I can't talk. My best friend in college just told me about Funimation, and as I was taking a shower, just started Googling how to act at Funimation. And long story short, there was a frequently asked questions button. I submitted after clicking on it to an email just saying like, "Hi, I'm Whitney. I'm an actor. These are some things I've done. This is my voice range." Maybe it was too much information to tell them. I don't know. I was trying to cover my bases. And then a couple months later, I got an email asking me to be a part of a giant kind of, I don't want to say cattle call, but like a big open audition where you didn't have a specific show you were auditioning for. They just gave you a book. Like I think Yamada's First Time was in it. Some readings for Black Star from what was that show? Soul Eater was in it.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So that's how I got into that specifically. But I was already in the realm of acting. I was already going to school for it and knew that I wanted to do something where people can pay money to watch me gesticulate wildly and use funny voices. So.
Awesome. Same here. So, speaking of which, of acting and voice acting, who were your influences?
Oh man, especially growing up, before I even realized what an influence they were, I was always drawn to just people who had distinct different voices. I really liked Abbott and Costello growing up. I really liked Nathan Lane. I love Carol Burnett. And all these people are just very funny people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So do I. I mean, I love Tim Conway to death.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I grew up watching Three's Company and all these, well, Three's Company isn't exactly slapstick, but I did end up watching just a bunch of heavy, like overacting stuff. And I grew up with no cable or satellite. So I had a lot of public broadcasting children's cartoons to watch growing up. And so I ended up watching a lot more Arthur than the average person and other stuff like that. So I was interested in sounds and in voices. And it's fun to look back now at some of the things I really enjoyed, like God, I'm so bad about going on tangents. I used to steal this radio recorder of my brother's and I would record my own Whitney radio. And it was just something kind of to get on his nerves. But I did it a lot. And we used to try to record, we had this like Disney Channel, like TV guide book, but it was a little bit more than just
Yeah.
TV guide, magazine stuff.
Hmm.
Because we didn't have the channels, we couldn't watch it, but we would read their stories and try to make our own voices. And
Hmm.
it's funny to look back now and see, like, oh, weird. Maybe I was heading for this direction my whole life. Who knows?
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think you did say you did like Darkwing Duck. I read that somewhere.
I have somewhere in my bedroom. My room is messy. I'm not going to turn my camera around, but I
Yeah.
have a little Funko Pop Darkwing Duck in
Nice.
here too.
Nice. Yeah, with Jim Cummings. I would really love to meet him.
Me too. You don't realize it, but he's the voice of your childhood. Winnie the
Yeah.
Pooh,
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck, Bonkers, Totally Bonkers.
Oh
He's so
my
many different.
gosh. Yeah.
Gosh.
Did you okay, awesome. Now speaking of which, like you said you were in college, can you tell us about your educational background and what training did you take?
When I first, before I even realized you could learn an accent, I just overheard a girl doing one once when I was at a sleepover, and it blew my mind. I didn't know you could learn to speak like another person. Like I just never thought of it before. So that was before 7th grade, and that was when I was thinking, okay, maybe you should be an actor. This could be cool. I think I like this stuff. And Harry Potter had just come out, so I was like, wow, I didn't know that you could sound just like Hermione Granger. Like my little naive mind was blown.
Awesome.
So at that time, I started looking for venues and I realized there was a community theater nearby. I had the opportunity to select different
Mhm.
extracurriculars at school, so I decided to pick theater. So that was my entrance into education, was first high school theater, which was really kind of hard because I was the only one who really cared, and one-act plays didn't really get off the ground,
Oh
or no one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I didn't get much experience until I got into college. And by that time, my only experience was, like I said, theater in high school and community theater, which I look back now and I'm like, oh, thank God they even cast me. I was, wow, I've come such a long way. I've grown so much. Thank goodness they gave me a chance, because my first one was Little Shop of Horrors. Then I did Fiddler on the Roof, which is a lot of fun. Also Oliver, just community theater projections I did around. And going to college, I was very fortunate. And of course, everyone thinks their college experience, like, no, mine was the best. No, mine was the best. But I really had some great people who could have made their life and living by just acting, but they just enjoyed teaching so much. So I really did get a great education there. I got hands-on experience in building sets and designing costumes, leather work. We did like the Fall of Troy and Henry VIII. So I did a lot of scenic painting. I did a whole lot of like building clothing with sewing machines and building clothing out of leather. So I have this kind of I feel like I'm pretty well rounded in the theater. I mean, it was as much as college gets you, you know, well, I did combat, stage combat. Yeah, just kind of a little bit of everything, and then stumbled into voice acting from there. So that's the extent of my education, aside from like taking the time to go to classes. Like Sunny Straight has classes every now and then. I used to go to this place in Dallas, which I don't think is really there anymore. So I've taken a few little classes, but some college is the extent of my education.
Yes, yes. I can relate. I took stage combat. I took, I think, theater analysis.
Hey, sorry, my cat's trying to get in the way of the video.
Hey, Chichiro.
Chihiro, who's a little turd.
Okay, so next question. Okay, when did you start getting into voice acting? Wait a minute, I think you answered that question before, in 2011.
Yeah, about 2011, it was November, and I got to be a part of Dead Man Wonderland as like the first 6 episodes, a part of Walla. And I didn't really know too many swear words at the time. Now I know a whole bunch, because wow, that show had a lot of swearing in the background, and I learned a lot that day. I learned many new words I'd never heard before.
Yeah, trust me, it's an experience. I mean, I watch South Park, so
now I'm well versed in making sailors blush, but
yes. Yeah, so that was like but what was the first, like, kind of, let's just say, main role that you got?
Definitely Yozora and Haganai. That was my first named role. Occasionally you get this named role when someone's like a bit part and they're like, so Betty, how's the weather? But like Betty's not really a key part of the story. She's only there just to have some sort of lip flaps filled. So my first real named role would be definitely Yozora from Haganai. Um, yeah, I remember the day I found out. I got like a text message, and usually they emailed me. So I was like, oh, they texted me, and they want me there from like for 5 hours. What does this mean? What does this mean? And I wanted to message them back and be like, so what is it? Who am I? But I also didn't know if like I don't know. I didn't want to be weird, and it was my first role, and I was nervous. And so when I got in there, I didn't even know who I was going in for. I was hoping kind of for Rika because she was crazy, but I was be happy for anything. And it was a little nerve-wracking because I'm like, oh boy, I'm here. I'm ready to work. Just super full of energy. And they're like, okay, just bring it down. Okay, how about here? Down. Okay, how about here? And eventually we just get to the really flat Yozora that we get.
Yeah.
And it was exciting, but it was kind of hard to suppress all my own energy to give such a flat delivery when it's like, oh boy, my first role ever. Now get unexcited so you can act. And it's like, aw, I wanted to be. It's hard to suppress that kind of happiness energy when you need to act really flat and just like, I don't care.
You seem
But
like a very energetic person.
I am. All those roles that get cast as, like the big, busted, dark voice, just kind of put off characters are so completely different than my natural personality. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Okay, so now you have your own home studio, correct? What
It
kind?
is. Yeah, so sorry, keep going. I'm bad at
So,
interrupting.
so what kind of equipment, recording equipment, do you use to record auditions or something? Or sometimes you have to like record at your home studio.
Right. Well, my actual booth is a PVC pipe frame that I just kind of took out of my boyfriend's garage. I was like, you using these? Can I use them? And so they're kind of dirty and a little warped, but they get the job done. And I've just draped a bunch of old pillows and blankets and quilts and stuff over it to make it kind of muffled. And it looks like a pathetic pillow fort, and it's kind of fallen over and it leans against a wall, but it works. So it doesn't look fancy. My actual recording equipment, like the microphones, I don't know the actual brands of them because I got very lucky that my boyfriend at the time when I was just first voice acting, we were just friends, and I was like, hey, you've got some sweet recording equipment. Can I borrow this every now and then? He's like, sure. He was a DJ and he still is a DJ, but he also does like realty and brews brewery beer. Oh my goodness, I can't talk without a script. Anyway, so he's a jack of all trades and happened to have a lot of recording equipment he just wasn't using. So I kind of lucked out, and so I can't tell you exactly about the technical sides, but I know that something that I used beforehand was Adobe. No, I use Adobe Sound Booth now, but there's something called Audacity that's a free software you can download. And yes, it's certainly not bad. It's not the greatest, but if you have no money, it's certainly not something to complain about. Just make sure you save often, because sometimes it'd be like, perfect take. No, I've deleted it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
A lot of gray hair. And just like a condenser mic is what I had beforehand, and I don't know what I've got now, but yes.
Yeah. I have, for those of you who are wondering, I have a Bluebird mic and Scarlett's.
I hear good things about that one.
Also a Scarlett Solo interface, and like I said, I have Audacity free recording software. I really want to, and for all the, like you, I have quilts and pillows. I record in a closet, so.
There's so many people who do. Like I was at Anime Fest this year, and Erica Harlicker was there. And you might know her from Seven Deadly Sins. Meliodas. I'm not a good imitator of her, but she's that character, and she was giving auditions in the hotel room in the closet, just like, oh, I'll be right back, guys. I got some auditions to go submit. So like, it's very common for us to not have these like, if there's anybody listening who thinks I need to spend all this money, no, spend your money on your microphones and recording equipment and get creative with your booth. We're doing it the right way, Ian. We're doing it the right way.
Yep,
I think there's a right or wrong way.
Okay, so now you did theater in the past.
Yes.
Do you have any plans of going back to the stage, or are you happy just voiceover?
Man, I want to go back to the stage really badly. My only real hang up is that most of the time people want to do them in the evenings or the afternoons. And it's been really hard these last few years for me to find a job because I live in a town where there is like three different colleges and there's always kids coming in and out of the city. So
Yeah.
there's not really, there's a lot of competition for jobs.
Mm.
So if you don't want these hours, it's like, okay, fine, get out. We'll just get somebody else. And so now I've got this really nice job captioning phone calls for the hard of hearing. So I get to have these nice like Sunday through Thursday, like 6:30 a.m. to 3. So now I got my evenings back. So
Mm.
now I'm ready to go back. It's been just kind of a living, working to live and living to work kind
Mm.
of every, oh gosh, it's been madness, but it's okay. So I'm looking to go back. I almost auditioned for Rocky Horror Picture Show recently around here, but I didn't because I just started my new job. And like I said, I caption phone calls for the hard of hearing. So I'm speaking for 8 hours a day. And now my voice is ready for it. Because usually I don't speak constantly 8 hours all day long. And at the time, adding another show on top of it would have just killed my vocal cords. So as much as I didn't want to, I picked health over happiness, knowing that health will equal happiness in the future. So I'm looking to go back, but it's a little hard. Some shows that I want to be a part of,
Mm.
they don't pay, and I hate to be that person, be like, well, you have to pay me or I won't be there. But at the same time, I get bills. The bills happen. I got to pay for gas. I got to
Tell
eat
me about it.
sometime. But that's my end goal is to
Yeah.
get back onto the stage because I can kind of carry voice acting around with me in a way as long
Mm.
as I've got a closet and some portable recording equipment. I can get a lot done on my own.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, so since you have done voice work for Funimation, can you tell us about their process, their auditioning process? Oh, do you have any knowledge on how that works?
I have some knowledge because when I go in, it's just kind of I sit in the lobby. I talk to my friend Sally behind the desk. We shoot the spit. Is that the term? I don't know. Anyway, we talk at the desk. I sign in and then I go do my work and come out. So it's I don't meet people as easily as you might think that you would because everyone's in booths being
Mm.
quiet. You don't knock on the doors because someone's recording in there. So my like I said, my first audition for them was just I came in. I was given this book of like all these different slides. I've actually not really had an audition like that there
Mm.
since, and I don't know how often they have those, to be honest. But when you do get asked to come into audition,
Mm.
there's usually a three-ring binder on the desk, and you open it up, and there's like a title page that tells you about the show. Um, read those pages.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Joel McDonald used to do this a lot, and I don't think he directs there anymore. He's living the big life, having beautiful babies, and having a good time. So he's not directing there anymore, but he used to put little things like "Tell me your favorite joke" when you'd come in, just to see if you read the front page. And then you've usually got like it's either all girls or sometimes it's girls and boys. There's no particular order. Just flip through them all to make sure you don't miss anything. Then there's just like a couple of lines, a brief description about your character, a picture. It doesn't tell you needs high pitch voice or needs this voice. It's a little bit up to your interpretation. However, when I do get in the booth, I don't hesitate to ask them. I mean, I'm 28, and when I get cast in a lot of commercials, they ask for in the scripts like middle age voice. And
Mm.
so I give them this voice, and they think that I'm 40 years old, and I'm clearly not. I'm 28 years old. And I've been getting parts like that since I've been 21 at least. So I do ask them, I'm like, okay, hold on a second. It is anime. What age range are these girls? And is it like true to, is it really sounding young? So sometimes I ask them that question. Um,
Yeah.
and
'Cause
yeah, there's room for interpretation, I guess. I
I
like to ramble.
I think yeah, because when I listen to my voice and
Mm,
everything, like I see myself like if I ever play roles as I see myself as the best friend, kind of like the friendly guy, nerd. Pretty much, I think I do have somewhat of a young voice or
yeah,
high school, like people in their 20s, stuff like that. So I
right.
think I'm in that age range. So yeah, because I've also heard because do you know Brittany Lauda?
I believe we've met a few times in person, but I don't know if she would remember me if we met again. I am
Oh,
never quite sure. So,
trust me, I trained under her. She
Mhm.
will remember you
Oh,
because
okay. Then maybe
prisons.
we've met in passing before
Yeah,
then.
because if you ever get a chance, she'll remember you because Prison School is one of her favorite dubs.
Oh, that's good to know. Well,
Yeah, so awesome.
flattering.
Also, yeah, speaking of commercials, you've done a lot. You have a lot of commercials under your belt. What is different about acting in commercials rather than like doing voices for animation, dubbing, video games, stuff like that?
Let's see. Um, the difference is, well, when you work at Funimation, I mean, there's shows like One Piece that are silly and really, really wacky. It's this kind of like mix between, I don't want to say real acting because that makes it sound like it's like fake acting. It's a mix between like, it's not quite, hey kids, a real weird voice, but it's also not completely normal talking.
Yeah.
It's a kind of blend between cartoon and real. And so usually, sometimes some commercials will ask for, I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of grout tile cleaning company. Like a year back, I got like a small like one-liner in a
Mm.
commercial that was like, "Honey, the grout is so clean." So like obviously it's a little affected, but it kind of tells you. It'll tell you in the audition like narrator style or not real salesy. Sometimes people want that kind of TMZ voice, like tonight, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. You know, sometimes they want that really fake announcer voice, and
Mm.
it'll kind of tell you. So for commercial acting, it's really broad. Funimation, it's usually kind of that cartoony, real blend because it's I mean, it's still animated, but it's not like always wacky like One Piece, and it's not quite like The Simpsons wacky. So I guess that's the difference. You just have to like really read the script, and sometimes the scripts are not really written by people who are producers, commercial wise at least. I mean,
Mm.
or sometimes they are. So sometimes you're reading through and you read it out loud, and you think to yourself, they did not read this out loud to themselves. Like my boyfriend's also an actor and has done some roles, and a good example of the script writing is he once did something for something's Mentos Cool Blast Chews. And it's just hard to be like, Cool Blast Chews. You kind of get stuck on that. And you're like, these people did not read this out loud. So it ended up getting changed to like Cool Blast Mint Chews because it was just very, it's like Gesundheit, Cool Blast Chews. It just didn't sound, didn't roll off the tongue well.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you just kind of have to work around that. Or I've done actual in life commercials before to where someone gave me like pages and pages of words and wanted it done in like a 30-second spiel. And it's like, are you kidding me? There is so much in this, and you
Wow.
don't want me to cut any of it? Like, so sometimes it's a little bit nerve-wracking and you sweat bullets, but there's a lot more guesswork
Mm.
in my experience in commercial acting. I mean, you can still ask them questions, but when someone's not there right there in front of you, it's kind of hard to ask those questions. Like at Funimation, I can just say like, how old is this girl? And I'm like, oh, 15 or something. But if it's in an email, they may have too many people auditioning at once to get back to you. I do a lot of this on my own and without an agent. So I'm not like saying this is how it is all the time for every actor. It's
Yeah.
art is subjective, and
Mm.
this job is art, unfortunately. So
It is. Okay, yeah, and I think you've also done some work with video games, correct?
I've had two video game roles with Smite before, and it was exciting. I'd like to do more.
How is that different than like commercials or dubbing for animation?
Well, for dubbing, I don't think I've gotten a script beforehand for anything that I've done so far, at least in my voice acting career. At Funimation, it's a lot of you need to be good at sight reading. You can read over it a little bit, like you see a little bit of the Japanese, and then you do your take in English.
Mm.
But in the video game roles I have done, it's been here's your script, and I have nothing to look at. Like I may have an image of what my character will look like. Leona Genesis Jetpack Fighter, I was given a verbal description of what she'd look like, but I didn't actually see her picture until like after the recording was all done. And same with Ordo Solaris Amaterasu as well. Like I was told what they kind of looked like, but I didn't really have anything to really
Mm.
look at. But sometimes you get the auditions and you already see the image of what you're going for. So sometimes that can kind of affect what you do. Um, so in there, you get like this whole script. Funimation, you get this like Excel spreadsheet kind of thing to look at, and it's the same with the video games as well. But you take your time, you look at the Japanese, and you look back at yourself. And on the other hand, for the video games, it's just all right. Here's a bunch of lines, let's go. And then sometimes you get to, it's like, all right, we need 5 affirmation sounds, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's like, mm-hmm, 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 uh-huh. Like it's fun. You get some freedom, but at a certain point, you're like
Nice.
10 times of laughter. Okay, ha ha. Ha ha ha. Like you're trying to stay in character, but you're also like, oh my gosh, how can I make 10 different variations of laughter? I'm gonna lose my mind. So you do get a little bit more freedom because you don't have mouth flaps to match.
Mm.
You sometimes at Funimation, I know I've had some people be like, Funimation didn't like properly do whatever, but it's like, come on, man, cut us some slack. I can't help the fact that the Japanese drew their face very angry, but the dialogue is very joyful. Oops, I can't change that. So so sometimes it's like I don't feel like this character should be so sad in this moment, but you have to follow the drawing guidelines.
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. And in the voice video game experience I've had, I can just kind of like I kind of did a little throw in to my boyfriend. He wasn't my boyfriend at the time, but we had this running joke of like like that was just this little sound we would make
Mm-hmm.
when we would agree to something. So as like a little like wink at someone I knew who was going to be listening to the recording, I was like and then I added because that's something that we did. So normally I wouldn't get that kind of freedom in voice acting for animation dubs because I have lips to flap, but it's a little bit more free. You go in a little bit faster because it's just like, oh, next take, next take, next take, and all of the yelling is saved for last. And I think that's pretty similar for most stuff. Most directors are aware that your voice will get ruined if you yell too much, so they usually do save the yelling for last. So
Yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's I think Brittany told me that. She's very good at what she does. Also, so now you've done all these things: commercials, video games, animations. Let's see. What's different about? Let's see. I'm trying to say is. I got. Which one of those have you had the most fun with? That's what I'm trying to say.
The most fun with.
Either video games, commercials, or dubbing.
Let's see. Let's see. I can't say what is the most fun. I do enjoy getting to show commercials to my friends and family a little bit more than I enjoy showing them the anime, because not everyone. People are like, who's anime? Like, it's like, well, okay, first of all, like, it's very hard to explain, like, well, where can I watch it? And it's like, well, you have to have the internet, and like, so it's a little harder for me to especially like anyone who's seen Prison School. I mean, I had to be like, so mom, point is I'm making money, and I got a big role. Now let me tell you what it is. And my mom was cool with it, but it was still just kind of like, let me warn you a little bit, mother. While on the other hand, there is this there's a commercial I did for Gear Aid gear patches through there's like a website I used to get auditions. And what was cool is that I auditioned. I actually heard back the same day. Weird. And then they paid me the same day. I was like, woo, this is fun. This is the big life. Because even Funimation, I have to wait 2 weeks to get a check. And we've only recently gone to direct deposit. So that was exciting. And then the next day they had the video up, already made, and laid my voice over it, and just looked so, it was crisp. It was beautiful. It felt so professional, especially when I just came from all this. Not that anime is not professional, but you go from like a lot of fan service kind of laughable moments to this something that looks so pristine, and I could proudly be like, look, grandmother, and she'd be like, oh, that's nice, dear. You know, I didn't have to be like, okay, let me explain a lot of things. So that's fun about commercials. I love the fact that I can play people who are not my gender at all in my in anime. I love that that's something that's available, and that sometimes I can be really crazy. Like, was it Akiba's Trip maybe? There was something that I did where I was someone, and then I turned into this like pig monster, and I talked like this, and then someone edited my voice a little bit more in the computer. So that I like getting to be really weird. I have no trouble being weird in the booth. Like, so that's super fun. And for video games, it's just a whole different medium, which I think is a lot of fun. Like, for me, the funnest part about that is that I grew up with video games, and at the time, the only narration and voiceover I knew was my older brother talking and reading it aloud to us as he played. So it's more, it touches me in a more personal level, the video games does, so that's super fun. I like how I can be anything and anyone at all in anime, and the fun part of commercials is being able to show my family without having to do a lot of explaining first.
Yeah, because like commercials, PSAs, everyone's seen a commercial or heard a commercial on the radio. They know what to expect.
Yeah, and they know what the use is of it. Like they're like, oh, good, a thing to tell me about the Women's Health Hub. Okay, people need to know about medical stuff when they're too busy not even listening to me in anime, too busy going, well, then why is that person's boobs bouncing so much? And it's like, well, it's just the way it was drawn. I don't know, but the point is, shut up and listen to me. That's my voice right there, Mom. Listen. So,
Okay, awesome. Now, getting on to modeling.
mhm.
Now, has your acting background in any way influenced the way you model? Do you see a connection between the two?
Um, I guess just I like theater in general and I enjoy dressing up. And so all the modeling I do is freelance. I don't often get paid to do it. And it's more of a hobby. Like I'm putting myself out there and going and looking for these jobs. And it's a little hard. It's a lot of times trading time for pictures, which means my portfolio gets to add more photos for free and you get to add more photos to your portfolio for free because we're trading our time and images. I think just my love of costumes and fantasy life is what really makes me want
Mm.
to do more modeling work. And I I like the idea of being fashionable, but I have more plans for it this next year, but I want to do more like fantasy costuming, just like more artistic images, not just oh, I'm modeling this purse, you want to buy it. I actually used to teach modeling and runway walking and stuff like that for a company several years ago, and it wasn't a bad place, but at the same time, with the way the internet is now, I would just say you could learn what you need to learn
Mm.
online. There's plenty of videos about like how to pose. Um, at some conventions, actually give a talk on. Oh, you leaving? Bye bye, kitty. She's like, oh, this is boring. Get out of here. So sometimes they give a panel on actually how to pose for pictures, and people make these remarks about why do women stand so weird or why is it done this way. So I talk a little bit about how the camera lens can have barrel distortion or pincushion distortion, which makes somebody look bigger or smaller than they are, and how you can use it to your advantage.
Mm.
Um, I talk about how I believe anyone could be a model, and people don't know what's normal until we show them what's normal. That's or else that's what we do. We look to magazines and be like, oh, well, that's got to be normal, right? Or else they wouldn't show it to us. So I'm a very big advocate of every body is a beach body. Every person is beautiful and deserves to feel good in their skin. The biggest oppression is the myth that the perfect body is there and is attainable. Like there's no such thing. It oppresses us all, this myth of a perfect body. So that's mostly what I'm trying to convey to other people through my modeling. That sounds so lofty and so like, oh, I'm trying to bring a message to the world. But part of it's also I just like seeing and proving to myself I can look good in photos. I feel like I'm really good in movement, in real life. But when you catch me candidly, I'm always like, or just like something strange. Like I'm making these weird faces. I gesticulate a lot. I make a lot of faces as I talk. So a lot of times in photos people will have of me, I'm like just making the weirdest faces.
Mm.
So it's also kind of a journey of self-love of being like, see, I can look normal in photos. Um, this may have answered a lot of things that you did not ask, but there's my long-winded answer.
Well, I think you've sort of answered some of my other questions.
Oh, well, good.
uh, it's okay if we can still ask them, maybe to go in a little bit more depth.
Sure.
Thank you.
Exactly.
All right. So, yeah, my next question is now that you have modeled for art classes, art photographers, clothing lines, and other products, which kind of modeling do you enjoy the most?
the one that the one I guess I would enjoy the most, I hesitate to say enjoy because I'm trying to open myself to new opportunities. I have a problem with thinking, oh, I'm nervous. And I'm like, no, 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 you're not nervous. That's how excitement feels. I try to tell myself that. I have the most comfort level in figure modeling, which would surprise a lot of people. And most
Hmm.
people are like, oh, that's nude. And like, it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it is,
Yeah.
sometimes it isn't. And it's not at all on a dirty or an intimate nature. It's purely just to be like, you can't know what you're drawing if you don't know what the skeleton looks like. There's a lot of anatomy in those classes. I enjoy those because I am very good at zoning out and being a daydreamer, which is usually has not helped me in life, but it helps me here. I'm very good at sitting still. I am very flexible, and I'm also very good at keeping weird positions for a long period of time. So I really enjoy figure modeling because there'll be things called gesture drawings where they may be like 30 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So on the duration, I can do crazier, weirder poses. And a lot of times people will hire me to just sit or stand for like hours. I get breaks. I do get
Yeah.
breaks, but I'll have to hold a certain pose and get back into it. It gives me time to daydream. I actually am I don't want to say I'm writing a book, but I'm entertaining this idea that I'm trying to get fleshed out before I put it on paper. And I use that time often to work on story ideas and things like that. But I'm trying to get more comfortable in front of the camera because I'm always this person going, ugh, this person really needs to do their arm like this, or it looks, they should just, I'm good at
Hmm.
posing others. So instead, I'm trying to get myself out
I
there and be like, well,
see.
I'm so good at correcting other people's photos. Maybe I should put myself in their place. That way I have the right to say that. It's harder than you'd expect. And
Yeah, I bet. Now, for figure modeling, do you get paid for that?
I do. Um, I used to work at a college nearby, and I've just recently, after 6 years of working there, decided to just kind of call it off for now because now it's kind of living around the work. For several years, I had a bunch of jobs I was juggling because, like I said, it's a college town, so I could more easily schedule it in because I had all these weird side jobs. I first was $15 an hour, and then but it was for a guaranteed 3 hours each, and then over time I got raised up to 20 an hour. That's still actually very low for what I was doing, but at the same time, it was a college, and they kept bringing me in for like I knew I was going to get several jobs a month. Excuse me, and I knew I was going to be absolutely safe. If somebody even gave me the slightest of a dirty look, I could easily just be like, that person made me uncomfortable, and they'd be expelled. Like, okay, maybe not that extreme, but you have to be on your best behavior to be a part of these classes.
Hmm.
And I've been a part of some like figure drawing groups that you have to submit your portfolio first just to make sure you're not somebody like, hey, I'm gonna go see some naked women. Like, you're not. We check it out. We want professionals only, and people take this job very seriously, and so do the artists who want this work
Hmm.
as well. So I've worked for people outside of colleges, and I usually charge a little bit more for that, especially if I don't know what I'm going into. A higher price will kind of deter the creeps a little bit more. But it was a good job. It was 3 hours at a time, and I've been working there since 2013. But this year, unfortunately, just it was a little hard
Hmm.
to make it fit in with my new day job and the current acting. I've been doing a lot more
I
conventions this
see.
year. Good, but it something had to give, and I put that down for now. I might go back in the future because I did enjoy the job. It's just a little hectic lately, but that's okay because it's good things that are coming into my life and making my life a little bit more busy.
Nice. Okay. Now, yeah. Speaking of posing, how did you learn to pose? That's something I always wondered. Did you have to take classes for that, or is it something you have to learn by yourself?
It's
Like,
a
how's
little, yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
so it's a little bit of both.
A little bit. When I was 11, or I think I was 10, and I turned 11 during this time, I had a magazine called Girls Life, and I would read it religiously. And at one point, there was like this little thing on the side of the page that you can cut out and mail it in for a modeling handbook. And I was like, well, I would like to own this modeling handbook. And I showed my mom, and I mailed it in, and I got the book for free. But it was also kind of a way for them to be like, well, come to our modeling school. And it was called Barbizon. And so I ended up going, surprisingly. I didn't think my parents were going to let me do this. And
Mm.
they taught me runway modeling, a little bit of acting stuff, how to put on makeup, how to kind of like stand up straight. I don't want to say it was a finishing school, but it was just kind of a little bit of an introduction to many different things. And I didn't get as much from that as I thought I was going to. But then again, I was also 11 years old, so I might have just imagined a lot more. They talked about the importance of keeping yourself healthy and eating right, and showed you how to like walk in heels and gave you this little graduation ceremony to where you get to dress nice and have your own little fashion show. So I kind of learned how to pose from there a little bit, but I didn't really learn a lot. I mean, I was still 11, so that was like 2001, and at the time I still didn't have cable or satellite. And like I said earlier, now on the internet there's so many different videos about posing, how to hold your face, how to find your best light and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of research of my own, and it's a lot of practice.
Mm.
Like what may work for me may not work for you. I can do this thing where I close my teeth and then I open my lips and I get this look that I like. But when I do that for other people, sometimes that leaves them going, or we have different faces and different bone structures, so what may look good for me may not be the technique that you need to do to get your face to where you think it looks nice. It's a lot of looking in the mirror and trying to shut your eyes and be like, okay, I think I remember this muscle formation. Like I remember how this feels, and then looking away and trying to take a photo and see if you can still do that. Because to me, I'll be like, oh yeah, this mirror image looks so good. And then I look at the camera and I try to do it, and suddenly I am overthinking it, and it go from like looking really nice to be like just a little too intense, like a little too creepy. And it's like, oh, Whitney, calm down. So I have to kind of learn the muscle memory of the way things may look. And it's also a little bit in the photographer's hands. I've
Hmm.
had some people who refuse to move around, who don't want to get in and find their best camera angle, and that can always make it a little bit difficult.
Hmm.
Like you can only do so much as a model. You can't aim their camera, focus their camera. You can't edit the photos yourself. I mean, you could, but you can't do it by just standing on one end. So, um, yeah, I had to
Cool.
do a little bit of class taking, a little bit of research, and just looking in magazines and seeing what other people do.
Okay, now what are the challenges of modeling? In your opinion, like what challenges? I guess every model has faced some kind of different challenges and everything, but I think what are the challenges you've faced?
The challenges I've faced is there's this problem where people just get a camera and they're like, I'm a photographer now. How about we take
Oh,
a wet shoot in my shower? And it's like, oh no. This is oh, we're not doing a nude yoga shoot. Thank you very much. There's people who do that.
yeesh.
Um, Finding the jobs is kind of hard. I use this website called Model Mayhem, which is kind of like a Facebook for modeling people a little bit. It's a forum to where like photographers can post their pictures and so can models, and you can kind of reach out.
Yes, I've heard
It's
it.
yeah,
Uh,
it's not
I've
the best website. Like it's not super mobile phone friendly, but it's something. It's more than what I know how to find on my own.
yes, because like I said, I've been taking art lessons this year. I've been really looking interested in drawing people and also animals. I'm taking a animal drawing class right now, um, and I just go sometimes go on Model Mayhem just to find like okay that model has an interesting face, or maybe I can draw something like that, or they have good hands, stuff like that to really
Yeah.
help me practice. And it's helped. It has helped. I'm still learning. I'm hoping to maybe someday take a class on figure drawing itself.
Right.
Okay, you've done modeling for like I say art. You've been the model. You've been like for paintings, stuff like that. Have you
Hmm.
ever also for photographers have do you see yourself ever becoming a photographer, working behind the camera, painting, stuff like that?
I've
What
thought
about
about it a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like I'd be good to have on set to help people pose a bit better, which makes me think, well, maybe I should be behind a camera. So I have thought about it, and I'm hoping to maybe do a little of that this next year. I'm actually in the process of my boyfriend and I are trying to process buying a new house, which would give us a little bit more space. And oh, we need more space. And if we had this more space, I was going to actually try to one find our missing camera because it's somewhere in this house somewhere. And then two, I'd be able to actually set up a backdrop. And I was hoping to start practicing with myself, just like put it here, get like a clicker in my hand to make it go off, and then pose and see what I could do. And just to see if I have any. Maybe I'm just feeling really full of myself. I'm like, yes, I can pose people, but then you give me a camera and it's just awful. Who knows? So if I find out I've got a little bit of talent, I might try to reach out and find friends and family that might want to just practice with me a little bit to see if it's worth my time. But I'm definitely interested in it. I always have these ideas for things that I think would be funny or artistic. Like maybe no one else thinks this is funny, but I bought a swimsuit that's called the Dad Bod, and you should just Google it. It's beautiful because we have this
awesome?
party called the People of Walmart Barbecue, and I was like, that's my costume this year. But I thought it'd be really funny to do like a sexy photo shoot, but in this Dad Bod suit. So I don't know how many photographers are going to be like, yes, let's trade time for pictures, because usually they want something very beautiful. But I had this weird sense of humor, so I might have to get behind a camera one day to get these pictures done because I think it's hilarious. But I know a lot of people are like, no, I want beautiful photos. I'm like, what's wrong with a beautiful, funny photo? But I don't know. I'd like to be behind the camera. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out this next year if I had the more space in the house.
Now, what about drawing? Do you see yourself as an artist, like painting or something, or?
I would definitely like to take an art class. I've drawn off and on during my life, and I'm not bad. That's for sure. But at the same time, it kind of comes in waves. Like some days it just doesn't happen, and there are other days where like, is it in here? No, I don't have one in here. I was looking at my room to see if there's a picture I had drawn. I think they're in. I'm prepping to move, so some of the things are put away. But every now and then I can be like, wow, look at this! I am the next Picasso. This is incredible. And they're, hold on, let me get my cat out of the room. Hold on a second. Okay, come on. All right, stop causing problems. Okay. Sorry, she was like just desperate to get out. So I do draw, but I've never really been great at drawing people. However, I've learned so much just sitting in figure drawing classes. Like my brother had to take an art class and texted me and asked me for help. And I was amazed at how much information I could actually give him that was more than just me grabbing his pencil and grabbing his hand and being like, well, do it more like this. I picked up a lot audibly through the classes. So I would like to have an opportunity to actually put that into motion. So who knows? I'd like to do it more, but the opportunity hasn't arisen yet.
Yeah, one of the best ways I found out, because if I take a figure class, hopefully I'll learn more, but I learned on the internet stick figures that can and you just add more stuff, layers, tubes, stuff like that to the human body, which is very interesting.
Yes. It's very interesting how they break it down into shapes. And I'm told, or I hear them tell each other a lot to like squint their eyes and then look at the person and see them as like shapes of light. And I'm very pale, so I reflect a lot of light.
You're a redhead.
Yes. And I'm not overweight, but I'm also not underweight. Like my lower half is more curvy and has a lot more of the weight on my body. So my ribs do show a little bit, and I'm not sick or anything. I've had people try to be like, you need to eat more. And it's like, have you seen my butt? Clearly I eat plenty. My goodness, I can't make it distribute evenly. But there would be times I hear the teacher will tell people like, no, squint your eyes. You don't have to draw every little divot that you can see from her. When the light is so bright, you can see a lot of my ribs, and they would get really hung up on those details. So I was like, that's something I need to do because I get hung up on details. So that's a good tip for me. Just squint your eye.
Okay. I think that's it. That's all the questions I have for you. Now, Whitney, is there anything you would like to add?
I have some stuff I did months ago with my friend Sunny Straight, and I can't tell you anything about it, which is enraging. I understand why, because he's trying to get some other stuff worked up before he releases this other thing.
NDAs.
But open. Yeah, right. Keep your eyes open, because then there'll be something that I was a part of that was really fun.
Let's see what time we have. Oh, I guess we're all off time now, but anyway, to all the listeners, I hope you enjoyed listening to Whitney and this podcast. I would really like to hear your thoughts and opinions on my podcast, so please.
If they're bad, buzz off. I'm just joking.
So please leave the comments down below and tell me what you liked about this episode. And also, please let me know what you think of this type of forum and say anything at all that you can mention to think, well, how can I improve this? If you have any suggestions on improvement, please let me know. And you can also contact me on Twitter and Facebook. The links are down below. And I just want to say thank you all who have tuned in and listened to my very first episode. I really want to make this a regular thing. And Whitney, thank you again so much for taking the time to be here on this podcast. You know, if possible, I would really like to have you back again.
Sure.
If that's
maybe
all right with you.
Year. Oh, it's been hard to squeeze things in, but yes.
Well, so thanks for listening, and goodbye for now.